Notes from my 2024, November 2024 reading of a 2003 autobiography of John McCain. I'm filming this Saturday, 30 November 2024. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and I'm going to talk through my book and reading notes for my November 2024 reading of an autobiography on United States of America Navy veteran and American politician John McCain. Worth the Fighting for: The Education of an American Maverick and the Heroes Who Inspired Him by John McCain with Mark Slater, 2003 Random House Trade Paperback edition. Paperback, ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Wednesday, 27 November 2024 and finished the book on Saturday, 30 November 2024. It was 404 pages. It took me 4 days. I read 130 pages Wednesday, 70 pages Thursday, 150 pages Friday, and 54 pages Saturday, today. Okay, it's a public library copy. It was on the shelves. I was like, I'm going for it. Yeah, and reading it. So that's the introduction. Book notes including construction and design. So I've done a book notes for this book before, so it's smaller font and like 1.25 spacing. Page numbers at the top with the even numbers is Worth the Fighting For, which is kind of like the name of the main name, and then that's the subtitle of the book, and then with the odd page numbers is the name of the chapter. At the beginning of each chapter is a picture with like who it is or what the setting is, that kind of thing. Chapters are variable in length. They're like less than 10 pages kind of thing, or like 40 pages kind of thing. So they're variable. My ability to read the pages I would say was like a little under 2 minutes per page to maybe up to 3 or 4 minutes per page. And there were small recurring typos, though it did not detract from this reading. They were like little things where I was like, okay, let's just start like an extra word, or like they were like easy to correct in flow. It didn't significantly disrupt my reading. I liked the size of the book. You could read it in my hand, hold it in my hand. Okay, I think. Thing. So there we go. That's it for that. Reading notes. So essentially it covers the guy's life, kind of like Vietnam to present, as of like when it was published. There's at the back, he's like writing it in May 2003. But it covers, I'd say, from my perspective, it's kind of a tone of him sharing how he's learned in politics and some of like the moments of his career where he learned and grew and like was educated and kind of like how politics works, but also how to grow up and mature and kind of be a better politician. And then also like some of the people who inspired him and why he found them inspiring. Providing his take and perspective on things so people can judge him on, well, do we want him to run for president again? Because as of when this was published, he did run, but he did not receive he ran in 2000, the 2000 presidential election for the Republicans and lost to George W. Bush. However, he did win multiple primaries, Republican primaries, including the early New Hampshire primary. So I actually very, very vaguely remember that. So yes. And he kind of got it kind of stifled and didn't really continue so well after he took kind of a Democratic stance on the Confederate flag, and then it turned out he had slave owners in his family history when he said he didn't, and so it was kind of like, because like my family's half and half, so very vaguely I'm kind of saying like, and I'm currently no party, so Democrat and Republican, in the United States of America. Okay. So at Thanksgiving dinner in person with my family this past Thursday, 28 November 2024, I learned from my grandma Connie that my grandpa Roger Leonhardi flew John McCain somewhere when they were both in the Navy. They were both over in Vietnam. My grandpa Roger served 1952 to 1974, yes, 22 years, as a fighter pilot, including being stationed in Asia during the Vietnam War, and so was John McCain, stationed over there in Asia. I don't think it was in Japan, like my grandpa, but they were over in Asia together. Southeast / island Asia. Okay. I hope for better days in the future where those of us who are part Native American, including John McCain of the Navajo Nation, partially, can include in our autobiographies that we are Native American. Him including that information here would have ended his career prematurely based on what he wrote in this book, especially about white Republicans being intolerant of support expressed to Native Americans publicly. A little tidbit. I signed up for the 2009 presidential inauguration when John McCain was running for president in 2008. He was the first Republican or Democrat to be Euro-Native American to do so, like as the presidential nominee for that one of those political parties. And before the results of the 2008 presidential election, I signed up for the 2009 presidential election, or 2009 presidential inauguration. So in that sense, I voted for him, though I was not old enough to vote on the ballot. Right, and I signed up for it. And I come from a family with, like, both my grandparents served in the military, my only uncle served in the military, so it was like, if he was not on the ballot, would I have signed up to go to the 2009 presidential election? Or presidential inauguration? Probably not, so in that sense, I guess, technically my vote went to him instead of the invasive American, non-Native American person, for the Democrats. Who was a male. I could only aspire to write a book at this maturity level. Yes, there's some of it that is like very, very mature. And now we're gonna speed through my little markers and see. They were mostly just pointing stuff out. So, all right. So page 9, he decides to step away from the military when he is in a position where he can no longer be promoted. When he was a prisoner of war, and when his plane got shot down, he got leg damage, so he had problems with his leg mobility. And so I'm guessing that factored in. Page 24. It gets phrased a little bit as China entering as a superpower in the world was a bit of a surprise for people in the late 1990s / early 2000s. It was kind of like, what are you doing? It's like that shock has not worn off. People still attack that new thing, that China, especially in sports, especially in swimming. Okay. Page 26. 1972, the Democrats have decided to take on the image of their anti-war. And that has not changed. Okay, I'm filming this in 2024. Some things over 50 years later remain unchanged. Okay, page 31. Okay, so he was in the United States of America Navy over in the Vietnam War, and then he got shot down. His plane was shot down, and he was taken prisoner by the opposition. Yes. Yeah. And so he was a prisoner of war. I think it's somewhere in here said earlier it was like over 5 years or something like that. He was a prisoner. And yeah. Over there. So, yeah. And then he had leg problems, mobility problems related to all of that. And so that was page 31. And then don't forget that Vietnam was a colony of France. So that's why with banh mi, it's on French baguette. It's from colonization, right, by the French. Okay, page 74. Democrats had grown arrogant in the long years of their majority and were often indifferent to Republican complaints of unfairness and at other times downright contemptuous of us. Yes, Democrats not necessarily being up for fairness. But the other, that was supposed to be below the mark. Quote, the confidence that had become arrogance was beginning to become their political vulnerability, unquote, which also kind of implies that the Democrats didn't quite realize. They were like, you're just all wrong. They didn't realize that they were vulnerable. All right. Okay, page 126. But he, quote, about, I think it's a guy named John Tower or something like that. But he enjoyed statecraft considerably more than he enjoyed his luxuries, unquote. Yes, if one's enjoying one's pleasures or luxuries more than one's job, then maybe it's not the right job. But this guy, so this is a way of saying that maybe the guy was in the right job. Okay, page 137. Oh, the ninth commandment, good old number 9. Okay. Quote, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, unquote. It's like, I don't do that anyway, but I think that's really been forgotten in the United States of America these days. Okay, page 191. Being professional in interviews, that actually does get brought up. Okay, page 211. In response to being antagonized by the press, he decided not to do, a sports baseball player decided never to do something again. Quote, that's integrity even if it offends as many as it inspires, unquote. Yeah, mistreat a person enough and they'll stop that behavior you love so much they might take away. You lost that right by being a horrible person, press. All right, page 248. The place where he was in prison as a prisoner of war was called Heartbreak Hotel. It's like, now there's an actual legitimate meaning for heartbreak, being held a prisoner of war. Man, people who talk about heartbreak these days are privileged. Okay, page 284. North Koreans quote, North Koreans had diverted enough weapons-grade plutonium from their reactors to produce 2 or more nuclear weapons, unquote. Should we be concerned about the return of the Hungarian Empire? I read that and I was like, go Hungary! Okay. Okay, page 330. Get a travel home and abroad at public expense. People have used that in the entertainment industry to smear people's, like, they crowdsource, opinions about that kind of thing and then use it to taint people these days. Entertainment's kind of horrible. So is the press. Page 351. This is the Democrats' side of things. Quote, the trial lawyers would prefer that people never be constrained from suing anyone for any reason, unquote. So essentially the Democrats are like, shut up unless it's me and then I'm suing you to take your money. Like, that's better than ever these days. Page 371. Quote, at times honesty will come at the cost of your ambitions, unquote. And then page 401. Dated May 16, 2003. Watch me have been conceived on May 17 and then born February 26, 9 days late. That would be very me, wouldn't it? Okay. In conclusion, marked full book number 67 for me for the 2024 year. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.